Hello, friends, and welcome back to Too Many Minis. My name's Ozzy. Merry Christmas. I've just picked up the Warriors of the Dead and King of the Dead clear plastic special edition models, and we're going to check them out and see what they're like. So, first thing to note is that they've got a printed box, even though they're online only, which even has special edition in clear plastic with, this is the photography of the new models. Bit odd. Great, no problem. But if you're a box collector, God help you, you're going to need these ones. They're not the same boxes used again. The second thing to note is this comes with a kind of warning. It's got the instructions here, full color, for assembling the king and the heralds, but it says clear plastic used for these models is slightly more brittle than the standard plastic that we normally use. As a result, we would recommend an additional step when using Citadel fine detail cutters to clip parts off the sprue. First, cut the sprue part way down the plastic rather than where the sprue meets the part, as shown. Once this has been done, cut any excess sprue away from the part as usual. This will help to reduce the likelihood of any parts of the sprue spinning off and reduce the risk of the parts breaking during the cutting process. So the mould lines clean off, but I don't think I'm going to go overboard with cleaning off mould lines. Something about the translucent effect makes them less prominent anyway. Okay, let's do one which needs assembly. This guy here with the spear. Okay. So, oh, that's stiff. Okay, that didn't come off, so that's good. Now, can we cut this without it breaking? Yeah, just about. Wow, it really pings off though. This is brittle stuff. Brittle stuff. These bits are flying all over the place. I'm picking them up for months. Bit more to clean up on this one. And you can see there that when you've got a bit that you've cleaned up, it does, show more. It's less translucent. Oh, look, that's snapped. Yep, it's brittle. So it's a bit of a gamble, this material. Let's glue another one down. I'm going to be using my regular Tamiya extra thin cement. That's what I like for plastic. But if you're using the Citadel one, I imagine it will be just the same. I don't feel like they have hugely different properties. It's just this is thinner and has the brush applicator. So let's dry fit it. Looks like a Warrior of the Dead. Give it a second. Should we put some shields on? Shields look nice enough. I'm going to blob some plastic glue on there and a bit there. Let's see if any of this goes hard or anything. Sprue's funny stuff to have around. Could chop it up into little gems for my kids. Again, I'm going to put the glue down the arm of the warrior. Oh, it feels fragile. That will do. So there we have one glued. It's quite a nice effect. Should we try putting some paint on? I think if you're going to paint it with the shield, you want to attach the shield first, because if you paint it and then put the shield on, you're going to be using super glue, and I do think that's going to cloud up. I suppose we should test that. Let's test it on this bit of sprue. Okay. Okay, I've got really quite a lot of super glue on there. I'm going to attach it here. Or just attach it like that. That'll be fine. Not very sticky glue. I definitely need super glue. Yeah, I would say super glue doesn't want to stick this much at all. Less so than regular plastic kits. It's so smooth. I'm just going to balance it there and see if any adhesion happens. Now to try and get this kind of effect, but keeping the transparency, we'll try grey cere. See what that looks like on it. Now, you're going to dry brush. You get your trusty dinosaur texture palette out and rub off most of that. And let's see how this goes on. It's kind of ghosty. I don't know if it looks good though. Not at all sure about that. So the two bits that we super glued together have now stuck, but they're fogged considerably. So you definitely don't want to use super glue on that, I think, on these. Right, I'm not at all sure about the dry brushing idea. I'm going to try painting this one straight grey, which I think what Games Workshop have done in their pictures. What GW seem to have done with their models is paint them all grey onto the armour and leave the robes underneath as the transparent bit. Should we try more on the dry brush? We'll go up one more. We'll dry brush and a bit of Ulthman grey onto it. Yeah, so the second coat definitely goes on better. Yeah, the spots where it's not got anything to go onto are not painting much, but I think this brighter colour, the starker, is doing better. Oh, that's a bit better. That's a bit better. I don't know if it's a smoother surface, but I think this paint dries slower on these. Right, I wonder if we might apply a little wash onto this. Get out the Bealtan green and see what that does on this. It's very green. So this, I don't hate it though. Definitely brings up the contrast a bit. And you can wash over the transparent areas. This is kind of interesting actually. The dry brush plus the wash has an interesting look. I'm not going to put it all the way all over the bottom of the model, but I'm going to put it sort of stretching down a bit and see how that looks. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting looking. And ties it a bit more in with my original hastily zenithal painted ones. I think that's kind of interesting actually. Now this really is taking a long time to dry, but I'm going to try and get in with a second coat of grey. I'm going to try and go with another dry brush on the dry brushy one. This time a Pallid Witch Flesh. Try and keep this targeted, this dry brush, to just give it a bit more ghostly light and make it a bit less green. Say, that's quite nice. That's all right, isn't it? I think that's quite a nice effect. I'm loath to put some brown on it. I think it's just going to complicate things too much. I don't actually particularly like how I tried to put quite a bit of different colours, a bit of metallics and browns and stuff on my Army of the Dead. I don't think I'd do it that way if I was going to do it now. I quite like that dry brush way now. Right, let's put a wash on the other one. I think the Games Workshop studio team have used Apothecary White Contrast on theirs. Should we try that? I think the contrast paint is quite good if you want to get a gradient into the translucent bit. So if you paint like solid, a solid colour, a solid grey, and then did a contrast grey over that and over the join between it and the translucent, I think you'd get quite a nice blend. Doesn't add much so far. I'm going to use some rarely used white. I'm going to get most of it off my brush, I think, and just see if it'll take kind of edge highlight. Yeah, kind of. So that might be one worth doing if you wanted to, like, you know, add in a few focus points on it. Doesn't make a huge difference. Not at all. The sculpts take the dry brush surprisingly well. I don't know, like I really didn't like it first coat, but a couple of coats of dry brush and then the wash I think has come out pretty good. Yeah, I like that. I feel like I'm just going to stick some sterling mud down, but I feel like you have to be quite careful with this because you really don't want to get any on the ghosty bit, because ghosts, if they're see-through, why would the mud be not see-through? I think the fogging from the super glue where you attach to the base isn't an issue because it's right at the bottom. I had an idea that it might be nice to just take these and like stick a pin up the bottom of them and have them floating above the base about, you know, a couple of millimeters. Now, it's not so translucent that you can see particularly that there isn't mud underneath the footprint of the model. I mean, I would definitely prefer the effect on the left, the all dry brush one, to this more solid one. I like the kind of light still peeping through. Like if we take a light source and shine it, you can see that's still, you know what I mean? Like the bottom is completely translucent, transparent pretty much, and this is still translucent. It's nice. I'm going to try the wash on this one though. So we'll go back to the Bealtown green. See, this one is coming up very differently on the opaque paint on the solid colour. Okay, so with the wash on this one, I haven't gone on to the translucent area to give a bigger contrast between the two. And I don't think I like it as much, again. And then what that last layer I was doing was a bit of white. I don't think there's that much you want to pick out white. You do as much or as little as you want. That's noticeable there that that is a bit of mold line scraping that I haven't done because it's next to invisible when it's transparent, but once you've applied paint it's much more noticeable. So those are the two looks that I've got. The sort of painted armor and translucent robes underneath, and the generally dry brushed and then generally washed. And I think I much prefer that. It's quicker. I think it's more effective. I don't know. What do you think? Two different ways you go with it. You go other ways. You could just, I think it's viable that you could just wash the whole thing without painting if you wanted. Put a wash on and then put more wash on at the top if you want it to fade from more transparent at the bottom to less at the top, or the other way around, but that would probably look weird. Draw attention to the wrong places. But I think you need the dry brush to have the clarity to bring up the thing, the details, but I don't think you need the solid paint. So I'll be tempted to do the rest of mine like this. And this guy will be sitting somewhere between my regular painted ones and these ghostly ones. But I think, you know, when I add some static grass to the base of this one, give it a little dry brush to the base, I think it's going to blend enough with these guys, but just look like it's in a different state of ghostliness. Ghostliness? Yeah, ghostliness. Tell me what you think of them. Have you got them, and what are you planning with them for your Ghosts of Christmas Past? And I will see you guys soon. If I don't see you before then, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. See you next time, K-Things. Bye.